Welcome back to the Trashion Icon. I am your host, G. Spencer Morton, and this week, the G stands for given the choice between Betty Davis and Joan Crawford, the only obvious choice is Gloria Swanson. Together on the Trashion Icon, we will turn crap into couture, garbage into glamour, and trash into trashion. In each episode, we will be exploring a new kind of wasted material, garbage, or recyclable opportunity and take trash and take it into fashion and create trash. Therefore, the name Trashion Icon. Everything I use will be garbage, secondhand, or recycled in some way. I make no guarantee it will be a success, but I do guarantee it will be an adventure. In this episode, we're going to get a little nostalgic. I love a trip down memory lane, and I absolutely adore a trip down memory lane with some classic films. Give me some Adrian and Edith Head costumes with a convoluted plot and too much dialogue, and my evening is set. One of my absolute favorite films is Sunset Boulevard. It's perfect. There are very few films that, for me, are perfect, that I wouldn't change anything, and there's nothing I would change about Sunset Boulevard. The best part is, like, whenever Norma Desmond's not on screen, when Joe is having a melodramatic moment, it's a perfect opportunity to go to the bathroom because Joe doesn't matter at all. By the time he's done rambling about how hard his life is, Norma's back, and that's what really matters. Joe is really quite ungrateful if some mildly deranged Hollywood actress of the golden era was like, "Hey, come live with me and like hear me talk stories and write some scripts for me." How do you say no to that? How do you complain about that? One of the core themes of Sunset Boulevard is the illusion of obsolescence. We are shown throughout the film that Norma Desmond, while she's eccentric, absolutely, she can still function, she can still perform, and she's still clearly very talented, and she's still very passionate about what she does. And it's interesting to kind of let the film tell you why she's not acting anymore, because she's not blacklisted, she's not been banned from the set or anything, she's just been very quietly dismissed. So it's interesting to let the film be like, oh, it's because she's old. I'm like, sure, but even though she's old at 50, she's still an immense talent and incredibly experienced, and that's a hugely wasted asset. And so that's the illusion of obsolescence, the idea that, oh, she's too old to be an actress. Well, she's not lost any of her quality, she's not lost any of her talent, and that kind of experience and talent and wisdom is still valued in her male coworkers and her male colleagues, such as Cecil B. DeMille. There's something more happening here. What are the deeper issues? What is the subtext? And what's really going on? And is it preventable? But regardless, our mentality around disposability is not that different than how Norma Desmond was treated. And that's a very big issue, like how we treat people as objects. I was thrifting the other day at the Bon Marché, and I noticed that there was such a large wall of VHSs and DVDs and cassettes, and I never really noticed that before. And I remember how not very long ago at all, how precious our our VHSs were to us and our cassette tapes and even our DVDs. VHS stores and DVDs, movie stores, they used to be such a big part of our culture and such a big part of like our perception of entertainment. That's gone now because of streaming. And that's not better or worse, it's just different. How many other little things that we no longer even think about, we at some point in the last decade desperately needed? Like, there was a time not very long ago where you were desperately trying to find a phone number in a phone book or trying to send that fax because your email wasn't working. After realizing just how many VHS tapes are living in thrift stores and just how many VHS tapes exist in just California, I did a little research. Research generally indicates that magnetic tapes like VHS, when stored well, will experience 10 to 20% signal loss purely from magnetic decay after 10 to 25 years. Given how long VHS has been obsolete, chances are that your old tapes have already reached, if not exceeded, that time frame. Meaning, if you want to keep that footage of your wedding from 1988, you might want to get that tape digitized quick. A single VHS tape contains 1,410 feet of tape reel. VHS tapes are difficult to recycle not because of the outside casing, but the magnetic media inside. The casing on VHS tapes is mostly made of number 5 plastic or polypropylene, which can be recycled. The inside, on the other hand, is mylar tape. Mylar! The inside, on the other hand, is mylar, made of number 1 plastic, which is coated in an assortment of metals that are not so easy to recycle. So they're very hard to dispose of safely. To this day, there are still millions of unused VHS and audio cassette tapes out there littering garages, attics, and old shelves. Surprise, surprise! VHS tapes cannot be recycled, but you can take them to designated recycling facilities where they will be incinerated to create energy. So you have its function has become obsolete, but the object is still in existence. And I think what's going to happen is because VHS is so obsolete, I think we're not going to see even thrift stores accept them anymore. They're just sitting and rotting on shelves and they're just taking up space. They just sit there rotting. Or worse, not rotting at all, because if it rotted, it would have decay. As movies continue to evolve and grow, like CGI and just the incredible things we can create now, there are some things that are always going to get left behind. I don't know that we're ever going to have like divas anymore. I don't think the diva can exist anymore. There's no Joan Crawford of our time, you know? And that bothers me. And you know what I think of the most when I think of a talented, badass woman in theater? You know what I think of? I think of a boa, like a big, lush, feathery boa. There's nothing more glamorous and absurd and impractical as a big rope with a hell of a lot of feathers just stuck into it. I love it. They're so fabulous. But when was the last time you saw someone really wear a boa? And I don't mean the pathetic little overgrown ferret that Harry Styles was wearing at the Grammys. No, that's not a boa. That's a rat that just grew too long. No. Mm-mm. It was hideous, and I hate it, and I didn't want to think about it anymore. No. Whatever happened to the boa? What happened to that glamorous, luscious, glamorous, completely impractical garment? Like, it's such a diva, iconic piece. I was researching the history of boas and I found this fantastic article on Grazia. Textbooks don't officially document the whimsical accessories' fashion evolution, but in the 19th century they were synonymous with high social standing, sophistication, and glamour. Often made from ostrich, turkey, and marabou feathers, the death of the once thriving plume trade was in one part due to Congress passing the Migratory Bird Act of 1913 and the Great Depression. In the years following, boas became less alluring to everyday people and more appealing to performers who towed the line between glamorous, ironic, iconic, and camp. Formerly a symbol of wealth, the feather boa adopted a theatrical, campy aesthetic in the 1970s, represented by Janis Joplin, Elton John, and Aretha Franklin, just to name a few. In the 90s, feather boas looked fabulously over the top, well represented on the red carpet. During this time, they also became embedded deep in our pop culture knowledge, courtesy of the films such as Clueless, Almost Famous, Sex and the City, and Never Been Kissed. In the years since, we have yet to experience a significant feather boa resurgence a la years past. While I am glad that birds and their feathers are being well protected, as they rightfully deserve, I don't see why that should mean that there can't be any boas. You can make a boa out of loads of different materials, from tulle to yarn pom-poms to recyclable paper. There's no limit to what a boa can be made of, there's only a limit to your imagination. There is no excuse for this lap in fabulosity, and I am personally offended. And it must be rectified.
Ah, yes. I remember this old, dilapidated dramatorium. Wonderful memories. I can almost still hear the applause. Oh, you should have seen it, how the spotlight always found me warm and bright like the sun, shining for its brightest star. Oh, you should have seen it. You should have been there. Now that's a star. Just look at how the curtain is entirely eclipsed in shadow by our presence. I'm shocked, I tell you, that more people didn't go blind by how dazzling we were. Not that it would matter. All of them hung on our every word, every syllable, every slip of the tongue was their salvation. And where would we be without our trusty boa by our side? Oh, look at them. Oh! Adding to each gesture, each costume, every step made a strut by its shimmy and spark and grandeur. No diva is complete without a boa. There was no better dynamic duo than me and my boa. I am a star, the greatest star of them all. All those applause gave me life. This is my life, it always will be. There's nothing else. I remember all those wonderful people out there in the dark. Of course, remember all that. Of course. How marvelous, how fabulous it all was. How fabulous it all was.
This boa was made with just one VHS tape. One VHS tape! I added some tinsel garland to it to kind of give it a little more fluff. I did not realize how much tape was in just one VHS tape, and it's enough to make one full boa. Like, can you imagine how many boas you could make with all the wasted VHS in the world? And much like Norma Desmond, I fear that all the VHS tapes in the world are going to be made too disposable too soon. Because while they may not serve their initial purpose and function and may be outdated, they still exist, and the pollutant that they create also still exists. Just thinking about how many products we're making right now, today, that's going to be exactly the same problem. What are we using today that's going to be the next phone book, the next VHS tape, the next printed map? And it's just an ongoing cycle of us creating new products you just have to have that just go to waste in a couple of years. And that bothers me every day. Thank you for joining us on another exciting episode of the Trashion Icon. I have been your host, the Trashion Icon. If you've enjoyed this episode or have any thoughts, feelings, or opinions, please leave a comment down below. If you liked this episode, please leave a like. And if you enjoy this kind of content, feel free to subscribe to not only my Instagram, G. Spencer Morton, but also the Sonoma Community Center or Sonoma Trash and Fashion. If you'd like to help support this programming, check out the 2021 Sonoma Trash and Fashion Show, available via the link in the description for rent or purchase. Thank you for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you next time. And remember, I am big. It's the screens that got small.